Hello and welcome, my dear students, to your channel once again. We shall be continuing with your Macbeth in this video. And it goes without saying that I have been following this edition of your Macbeth, the Oxford School Shakespeare by Roma Gill. Alright, so if you remember, I had stopped at Act 1, Scene 3, wherein the witches had come and predicted the future of Macbeth and Banquo. And we soon see one of the predictions turning out to be true. That is, Macbeth has become the Thane of Quarter. We'll proceed from there. Act 1, Scene 4, Macbeth. The king's headquarters. The king here refers to King Duncan. The king's headquarters flourish. Enter King Duncan, Lennox. Lennox is one of the lords. Malcolm, his eldest son, that is Duncan's eldest son, Donald Ben, and few other attendants. Duncan. Is execution done on Corder, or not those in commission yet returned? So if you remember the old Thane of Corder, what had happened to him? It was ordered that the old Thane of Corder should be hanged. So now Duncan is inquiring that has the job been done? Has he been executed? Or those who've been sent to carry out the task, haven't they returned yet? Malcolm reports, my liege, my lord, they are yet not come back. They haven't yet returned. But I have spoke with one that saw him die. But then I met someone who said that he's been executed. Who did report that very frankly he confessed his treasons, implored your highness's pardon, and set forth a deep repentance. So, what did the person inform? The person has informed Malcolm that when Thane of Corder was being hanged, he was extremely sorry for betraying King Duncan. Okay, and he had asked for forgiveness. Nothing in his life as one that had been studied in his death to throw away the dearest thing he owed as it were a careless trifle. So Malcolm gives out this information to Duncan that the manner in which the Thane of Corder died, it was a very sorry state of affair because it seemed as if a man of such a stature, Thane of Corder, giving away his life as if it was not a matter, as if it didn't matter anything, as if it were a trifle. You know what the irony here is? When the play ends, we will see Macbeth also giving away his life as if it were a trifle. But then again, Macbeth does so with dignity. He meets, he meets his enemy foes face to face and he puts up a brave fight. But then the manner in which he dies is a very sorry affair. That is the irony. Duncan says there is no art to find the mind's construction. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Lo, what an irony. Duncan says there is no art, there is no way to find the man's construction in the face. There is no way in which one can tell what is going on in a person's mind by reading his face, by looking at his face. Because you see, what is going on in a person's mind is very difficult to understand. All right. So the point here Duncan is trying to make is see, the old Thane of Corder was a trusted individual. He had trusted him. That is why he was entrusted with the responsibility of being a Thane. But then he is the one who, sidelined with the King of Norway and helped him to rise in rebellion against King Duncan. So he was a gentleman on whom I had built an absolute trust. Again, an irony here. You need to understand here the irony. He initially had trusted the Thane of Corder who betrayed him. So he is putting this Thane of Corder to death. Instead, making Macbeth the Thane of Corder. And incidentally, this new Thane of Corder is also going to betray him. So when Duncan says there is no art to find the man's construction in the face, it is actually true, because what is going on in Macbeth's mind, Duncan is yet to realize it now. Also, Duncan words are almost echoed by Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth we haven't met. We will meet her in Act 5. Act 1, Scene 5, I'm sorry. But when she says in Act 1, Scene 5, that is, in my book, it is page 17, Act 1, Scene 5, line 64 and 65. She says, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent underneath it." Lady Macbeth says this to Macbeth, that you should, look like the innocent flower, very, very naive and beautiful and innocent. But you should be the serpent underneath it. That is, you should be ready to strike at the right moment. In other words, your looks should not give away what is going on in your mind. So Duncan's words are almost echoed by Lady Macbeth. Anyway, come back. Enters Macbeth, Banquo, Ross, and Angus. And the moment Duncan sees Macbeth, he's extremely overwhelmed. He says, "Oh, worthiest cousin, the sin of my ingratitude even now was heavy on me. Thou art so far below, the swiftest wing of recompense is slow to overtake thee. Wouldst thou hadst less deserved, that the proportion both of thanks and payment might have been mine. Only I have left to say, what is more thy due than more than all can be." So Duncan refers to Macbeth as the worthiest cousin, and see, he says that I feel so helpless that I'm not being able to honor you enough, because you deserve so much more, and I'm unable to, shower those honors on you. Macbeth, the service and loyalty I owe in doing it pays itself. Your Highness's part is to receive our duties, and our duties are to your throne and state, children and servants, which do but what they should by doing everything save toward your love and honor. So, Macbeth, as a true gentleman, he says, why should you feel so helpless? Because your job as the king is only to receive service, and my job as a subject under you is to render my services not only to you but to the throne, as well as to your family, and you know to your near and dear ones. So this is Macbeth's humility speaking. At the end of the day, Macbeth was a gentleman. That he becomes corrupted under the influence of the witches and Lady Macbeth is a different story, but then he was always a gentleman. That is why. Okay, that is why this humility of his comes out here. Duncan, welcome here. I have begun to plant thee and will labor to make thee full of growing. Noble Banquo, that hast no less deserved nor must be known, no less to have done so. Let me enfold thee and hold thee to my heart. So Duncan now turns his attention to Banquo, and he says, I'm extremely happy and glad that you have also begun to grow. So, and he wishes to embrace him and hug him by his chest. Banquo, there, if I grow, the harvest is yours. Banquo says, if I'm allowed to grow in your heart, then I'm all game for it. Duncan, my plenteous joys, wanton in fullness, seek to hide themselves in drops of sorrow. Sons, kinsmen, thanes, and you whose places are the earnest know. We will establish our estate upon our eldest Malcolm, whom we name hereafter the Prince of Cumberland, which honor must not accompanied invest him only, but signs of nobleness like stars shall shine on all deservers. So Duncan makes a very, very important announcement here. He says, all said and done, I am going to make Malcolm, my eldest son, the Prince of Cumberland. Because now the time has come when I should entrust my children also with certain responsibilities. So, Malcolm, I'm going to make him the Prince of Cumberland, and I wish that he is not only guided by only nobility, but also the lights of the stars. In other words, I wish Malcolm should take up the responsibility of Cumberland with honesty and integrity and loyalty, most important. And then he turns to Macbeth and says, "From hence to Inverness and bind us further to you." So now Duncan gives out this information to Macbeth that Macbeth, from here I wish to go to Inverness. Inverness is the place where Macbeth used to live. Okay. So to your house I'm going to go, Macbeth, and spend the night with you. In those days, if the king is visiting you personally and spending the night at your place, that means you have done a great job. Okay. So the king had always, Duncan had been extensive this thing about his inability to express his gratitude towards Macbeth for getting him, for fighting for him so well. So now he is trying to recompense that for that, and he says, "Now I'm going to go to Inverness to spend the night at your place as a mark of, or as a token of gratitude." Macbeth is very happy to know about it, and he says, "The rest is labor which is not used for you. I will myself the harbinger and make joyful the hearing of my wife with your approach. So humbly take my leave." Macbeth says, "Okay, your wish is my command. So as you say, do not be worried, dear king. You have wished, you have expressed your desire to come and spend the night at my castle. So I am personally going to go ahead of you all and inform my wife, Lady Macbeth, about your arrival. And so I would like to take leave of you." Duncan, my worthy courtier. Duncan is very happy to see Macbeth so overjoyed. But Macbeth speaks in an aside. Now, what is an aside? Do we know this? Aside is, a rhetorical device wherein the speaker is speaking to himself only, but in a hush manner, so that the speaker himself is able to hear himself out. This is different from soliloquy. Soliloquy is when the speaker is talking to himself in his mind, and no actual words are spoken. The thoughts are there all in his mind. But in an aside, he is speaking to himself, but words are spoken out. But rest of the characters do not get to hear it. It is only the speaker who gets to hear it. So this is very important for you to understand the difference between a soliloquy and an aside. So Macbeth says in an aside, this is very important. "The Prince of Cumberland, that is a step on which I must fall down or else overlean. For in my way it lies." So the seeds of jealousy have started acting on Macbeth. He says, "Okay, Duncan has named Malcolm the Prince of Cumberland. So that is my first step towards becoming the King of Scotland. Either I step on Prince of Cumberland, crush him, and rise to the top, or I topple over it. Either way, I have to get myself going." So, in other words, Macbeth has started realizing that the first impediment, the first obstacle to his becoming the king is Malcolm. Malcolm needs to be removed. And look what he does. "Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. I wink at the hand." So he's calling on the spirits of the night. Macbeth is invoking the dark spirits. Incidentally, we've seen witches are associated with darkness. And now Macbeth is invoking the spirits of darkness and he wishes the stars to hide their fires. Why? Because stars' fire are supposed to be associated with positivity and light. They can never make you go astray. But here, Macbeth is asking the stars to hide their fires so that there is no light. Let not light see my black and deep desires. So, Macbeth himself knows that his desires are extremely dark and deep and sinister. Whatever he is planning to do, that is murdering or removing the impediment, is very, very sinister. So, yet let that be which the eye fears when it is done to see. So, he knows it is an extremely fearful and scary thing which he is planning, but yet he wishes to carry it out. And thinking all this, Macbeth leaves. Duncan says, "True, worthy Macbeth, worthy Banquo, he is so valiant. Valiant is brave. And in his commendations, I am fed. It is a banquet to me." Duncan goes on heaving praises one after the other on Macbeth. He says that all the love and affection that Macbeth has for me and the preparations which he is going to make for me to arrive at his castle is like a gala banquet. I'm going to enjoy it. Let's after him. Let us go after him, whose care is gone to bid us welcome. It is a peerless kinsman. So he's gone before us to inform his wife. Now let us also start for his place because he is a peerless kinsman. He is a matchless kinsman. Why is this saying significant? Because if you look at your page number uh, 9 in my book, Act 1, Scene 3, this particular speech of Macbeth, line number 130 onwards, this supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, cannot be good. If ill, why hath it given me an earnest of success commencing in a truth? I am thin of quarter. If good, why do I yield to that suggestion whose horrid image doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature? Present fears are less than horrible imaginings. My thought, whose murder yet is but fantasticals, shakes so my single state of man that function is smothered in surmise, and nothing is but what is not. So, what we have essentially seen here is we've seen Macbeth as an individual who is caught in the dichotomy of to be or not to be, whether to whether to commit the murder or not. Also, he is infirm of purpose, we've seen. He is extremely shaky as an individual here. However, the present Macbeth that we meet in Act 1, Scene 4 is a different individual altogether who is invoking the spirits of darkness by saying, "Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires." This is a completely different Macbeth, bold, resolute, firm, who has already made up his mind to carry out a task which is so sinister that even stars should hide their fires. Okay, so this is it, children. We will meet in the next video. Till then, goodbye and have fun.